think we're live now.
Yeah, it just popped on my screen, so I will share it.
We'll get ready just another minute before we get started. We're so quiet today.
We should have had some music, right? Some Latino music on the background.
Yeah.
Great.
It's not too late. Bring it on.
It's not too late, right?
That would have been great.
Yes, actually, I want to do that while everybody's joining.
I love it.
I'm writing my my post sharing this, Carla. Should I say we're focusing on marketing to the Hispanic/Latino or Latinx?
You can say Latinx. It's fine.
Latinx. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Magali, hola.
Hey, I am going to get started. I think we have a decent amount of people here and everybody else can just join us as their schedule allows. I'll go ahead with some brief and quick information. Carla and Juan, I'll let you decide if you're doing introductions or not, as you know how long your presentation is, so you would know if we have time to do that or not. But I just want to share some quick and brief information before I hand it over to Carla and Juan for today's presentation. First of all, thank you so much for joining us and joining us weekly during the series and every Wednesday for Marketing Outside the Box. That's a great partnership between Hustle Winston-Salem, Foresight Tech Small Business Center, and Flywheel Co-working. We're so thrilled that we have the opportunity to continue this virtually for our community. So as many of you know, the series that we are currently in is Inclusive Marketing. Last week, we touched on the Black and African American community. And today we have guest presenters that will talk to us about the Hispanic and Latinx community and provide us some marketing tips, tactics, and strategies how to best engage with that community. For those that will be joining us next week, we'll do the same with the LGBTQIA+ community. We'll have another guest presenter that day. And then I'll come back at the end of the month to close us out with women. I might have a co-presenter with me that day or not, and we'll see. We'll see. But before I hand it over, I did kind of want to remind everyone that today is the last day, 11:59 p.m. tonight is the last day to apply for the Hustle website deal that we have going on, which is we have a web designer that has agreed to cut his website price in half to $450. And then he added an additional $150 discount on it. And then Hustle is covering your first $150 deposit. And then once the website is complete, the entrepreneur would be responsible for the difference up to $150. So it might not be $150, it might be less than that, but you would agree that depending on what you decide to do with your website, it could be up to $150. So if that is a need of yours, just want to remind you to visit our website, hustlews.org. And the application is on the homepage and it will be on there until midnight. So as long as you submit it before midnight, we definitely will still accept it. And Carla, while you're here, I just want to mention it to you. I took that out of the presentation that I'll be sending you next week, but if you can still share that with that community so that they are aware, today is the last day. So unless you all have any questions for me, I'm ready to hand it over to our presenters today. So any questions about anything I just shared? Okay, great. I'll keep an eye on the chat throughout the presentation, and Alan and I will keep an eye on Facebook. So Carla and Juan, there you go.
All right. Are you there, Juan? I think I can see you, right? Okay. Hi. Well, hola, everyone. Buenas tardes. So after 12 p.m. is buenas tardes. If it's before 12 p.m., it is buenos días. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Inclusive Marketing for Hispanic Latinx. My name is Carla Mounts. I'm the founder and creator of Soy Emprendedor, I Am Entrepreneur, between many other things than being a mom and a creative and a marketer. And also here with us today is a person that have worked for so many years in the Hispanic community. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Juan Aguilar, currently a program coordinator with the Hispanic League. Before that, I was involved with the community, with the Simon Green Atkins Community Development Corporation. And before that, I was actually helping do some canvassing with Never Spread a Neighborhood. So been involved with the community maybe, I don't know, 10 plus years easily. Actually going close to 14 years. Yeah, now that I think about it. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I think I see some familiar faces there. So great to see some of you. I know I haven't been able to see you in a while, but great to see your beautiful face.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And we all know that we're going through a very difficult times as a community, but thank you for taking the time to learn more about the Hispanic and Latinx community, because I know it is very difficult, even for me as a Mexicana, as you can tell on my background, right? I have my Mexican flag. It is very difficult. We are so diverse and so many layers and cultural differences that it is hard. So thank you for taking the time to, hopefully you will learn at least one thing today. So that's the goal, right? So let's start with our presentation, and I'm gonna put a video. So let me actually disconnect my AirPods before I do that, so that way you can hear. Give me 1 second here, please. Sorry about that. I just remember that with AirPods, you cannot hear the video. So let me disconnect the AirPods.
Carla, we can't hear it. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Carla, we can't hear it.
Still cannot hear.
You want to check if the sound is on the video as well?
If you want to send me the link, I could try to pull it up, see if they can hear it.
And it may still be connected to your AirPods. You might want to check that.
I don't think Carla's hearing us.
Oh.
Yeah, because she's disconnected her earpods, so she can't hear.
Let me see if I can message her.
Oh. I just hear that you guys cannot hear.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Okay. I'm sorry about that.
I think it might still be connected to your AirPods, possible.
Oh no, that was such a good video. Should we repeat or should we send it to everybody after?
No, repeat. We
Yeah,
wanna-
because it's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and have my AirPods. Hold on. It might be connecting because Bluetooth. Okay, let me repeat and tell me if you can hear, okay?
Okay.
Oh, okay. You're gonna see my background, so let me go ahead and disconnect my AirPods. Okay, let me stop sharing. I'm sorry about that.
It's no problem. Like I told the presenter last week, we're all living in the virtual world.
Yeah,
so
right. No,
we're
that's
getting accustomed to it.
so difícil. Okay, let's do it again because it was really good. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna play a few seconds and tell me if you're here.
Okay.
Could you hear?
Mm,
Magali?
no, we don't
Oh.
hear anything.
Okay, hold on. Okay, let's repeat that. Can you hear?
No.
Is the volume up?
Yeah. What's going on? Yeah. I don't know why it's not. I'm sorry about that. We will have to send it, but that was such a good video.
Is it on
So,
Facebook? I mean, is it on YouTube?
yes.
What's the name of it?
you could-
The name of it is, hold on, let me exit
You
that.
could probably put the link in the chat if that's easier.
Yes, I'll put the
Yeah.
link on the chat.
It's very colorful. It looked like people were having a good time.
I know, right? I'm sorry about that.
I kind of really want to watch it.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. What we can try is also maybe Juan can share it when it's your turn. Juan, you have access to the presentation. Why don't you copy paste this onto your section and maybe from your computer will be better audio. Okay, so let's continue with that in the meantime. Oh, now I have to go to the next slide. Okay, so, well, basically, right, the video is speaking and probably we'll consider at the later on the presentation. It is about how diverse it is, the Latino community and Hispanic, but sometimes it's really hard to get to the goal, right? Because we might not understand really sometimes that culture and sometimes can be either offensive to certain marketers out there that they didn't do their due diligence for that. So that's why we're here today, to avoid those mistakes, but also to know how different we are between all Latino community. So first of all, a little introduction on who we are. So we are a very multidimensional community, right? With a lot of layers of cultural and language and how we communicate with each other. So even we speak Spanish, some of those words are very different between each other. We're very vibrant. We like colors, we like music. We're sometimes loud and we like to talk with our hands a lot. So sometimes people might think that we're angry, but we're not angry. We're just very, we like to use our hands. Diverse, we're very diverse. We have different color skin. My daughter is actually blonde and she's my daughter. And sometimes people think that we don't have Latinos that are lighter, but we have from lighter to darker. So we're very diverse, very different colors. We're creators, innovators, we're leaders, we're very hardworking people, right? We work with our hands a lot, but also we are tech savvy. We like digital, we like good equipment and technology. We're fixer-uppers still. So if something breaks in our house, we fix it first before trying to buy a new one, right? Anything, from the coffee maker to the toaster, we try to fix it first. We're supporters of anything political and the rights for people, and we're humans. We are mothers, we're fathers, we are children. So that's who we are as community. Let me go to the next slide. So what we value arts. We like arts a lot. We like visuals. We value family, our culture and heritage. We value representation, quality, because we might not think that we like quality. We like quality. We value social awareness, involvement, diversity, family. I know for everybody, family is important, but it's a very specific situations in the Hispanic community, and we're gonna be talking about that. We are fun. We like to joke. So if you know George Lopez, we're kind of like him, right? We like to joke a lot. We love music. We value education, and we love food. And I think Mexican is one of the best food in the world. And we like sobremesa, which sobremesa means spend a lot of time after finishing your food to talk and enjoy family time. So just to know some, of course, probably know some of these data points, but it's always good to, to revisit. So it's Latinos, we're not going anywhere, right? We are creating a more diverse United States, our country. This might be a little off numbers for the time that this infographic was created, but it says we're 50.5 million people. That means that, for example, like we are more people than all Canada combined population. So if you can imagine that, so we are a lot of people. The average, so 16.3%. North Carolina might be a little bit less than that, but that's pretty much a lot. One Latino, Hispanic, one in every 6, based on this infographic. So these numbers is just to tell you, like, we're not going anywhere, and marketers are eager to know how to market to the Hispanic community. So we're the largest population growing. We are the youngest population. So the average white American are around their 40s. The Hispanic Latino is not even 30. So what that tells you is that we're first buyers. And what first buyers mean? First car, first house, first insurance, everything first to the Latino community. So if you already have the eager to market Latinos, this is obviously something that marketers know that it will be very important, because we're first time buyers in average. Also, the Latino have the 3L: large, lucrative, and loyal. We are very loyal with our brands. And loyalty comes from mouth to mouth. So if your abuelitas, if your grandma likes something, or if your mom or your cousins, your primos, hermanos, and sisters, you are most likely to be very loyal to that brand. So that's something that marketers love, right? So the question is, how do you make familiar your brand to Hispanics? Let's go to the next slide. It's also very important to know, of course, big numbers, right? United States, and everybody thinks, okay, Texas, California, Florida, that everybody's over there. The reality is not. We are moving everywhere. We are everywhere. And again, as I said, in Forsyth County, we might have a little bit less percentage than the average nationwide, but we still have a lot of Hispanics. So here you have some numbers. Here on Forsyth, Tech, so Alan, I was thinking of you. In Forsyth, we have 49,000 Latinos. And again, these numbers might be a little bit off, but that's what I found just as yesterday. So this can tell you that Winston-Salem and Forsyth is getting more diverse, which I love, because I've been here for 10 years, almost 11, and I've seen the difference. I love where we're going as a community, and thank you so much for welcoming us and feel that we're part of this. Okay, one question that I get asked all the time. What's the difference between Hispanic and Latino? Raise your hand if you really know what is the difference. Okay, so Hispanic, and it's kind of like equation. So Hispanic means that the person speaks the Hispanic speaks Spanish. So this would not include Brazil, right? So Brazil is not Hispanic, but Brazil is Latino, because Latino, Latinx, Latino, Latina means location. So location-wise, Brazil is Latino, but doesn't include Spain. So that's very important to remember. And I get this question all the time, and it might be common sense for some of you, but for some, I always get the same question. What you need to know is that marketing Hispanic, it won't be a short-term strategy. It will take a lot of work. And if you're a big company with a lot of money and to spend dollars, well, great, right? But what about those that we are small, we don't have the money or even the time, right? It's about creating strategies that start small but meaningful. And also something that somebody asked me on the last meeting that we had with is how do you, if you don't have the money, if you don't have if you don't know where to start, how can you start? It starts from home, right? So be involved in the community with at least one person that is Hispanic or Latino, and start knowing us more. Just some fun facts here to say. So just to imagine, not just by data, how we're growing. So in 2001, actually tortillas took the place of bagels on sales-wise nationwide. So that tells you something, right? That we're consuming more of Latino products. In 2005, in Texas, the name Jose was the number one. And this is something very interesting too. The bilingual children books is overtaking and the fastest growing industry for the books. So it's very interesting to see these numbers going on in the marketing world. And also, we're winners and we're leaders. So that's why it's very important that stereotyping, right, it's something that you really need to think twice before doing something that is a stereotype in the Latino community. A lot of brands, big brands, are doing very great things, but I think what is important is to learn from them. And what is we're doing different that is being successful with the community, the Latino Hispanic community? Mattel, we all know Mattel, right? So we know Barbie. Okay, so Barbie became a quinceañera. Quinceañera is a very important part of the woman and as a lady and a girl becoming a woman. So it's like the Sweet 16. What is very important to know is that Latinos spend a lot of money, kind of like a wedding, right, for the Latinos. So Mattel was very smart to recreate the quinceañera as part of their reach out to Hispanics. The other part that Mattel did very well was to create a bilingual teacher, Barbie. So, and she habla español. But what I wanted to see here, of course, like you're not gonna be creating maybe a product, right, that look Latino or Hispanic. What they did was to put on their box something very simple, a phrase that made the difference. So if you can read there, but I'm gonna read it to you, it says, when you speak two languages, you can make twice in friends. So in the hearts of the Hispanic Latino community, that is meaningful. You don't need to put flags. You don't need to put something that you might not understand. A phrase can make a difference in your branding and in your marketing, okay? Another brand that it has made the difference with the auto industry, which is Toyota. And that's obviously a testimonial is that if you do it right, you will have a lot of success with your brand. So what Toyota did, it was not to spend in advertising, it was not to spend in TV or radio. What they did was something meaningful. So the campaign, that it was a campaign winner, it was called Más que un auto, more than a car. So let's check out this video. Oh, well, but the video is not gonna play with a good sound. I'm gonna, Juan, can you please copy paste the video for your side of the presentation? Because even if I play it, our audience won't be able to listen through my computer. But just to give you a sneak peek, so Hispanics, we love our cars. We actually give names to our cars. It can call Osito, what it means bear. So we care and love our cars. So Toyota created a campaign to name the cars of the Hispanic and Latinos that they were buying Toyotas. So again, they didn't spend their marketing dollars with with TV or radio ads, and of course they have to get the word out there, but they created something very meaningful to Hispanics, which is they know that naming our cars, it's important. So I don't know how many of you knew that, but it's kind of funny, right? We like to name our cars. So that was the video. So I'm gonna just pause it because you're not gonna be able to hear. So I'm gonna go to the next slide for another example. Sin traducción means without no translation. It is some Hispanic words that Target knew that this would be a good idea. And why it is a good idea? Because some of the Hispanic words do not have really a translation. Sobremesa, that was a word that I used on my second slide, if you were paying attention. We love food, right? Sobremesa means that we like to stay after dinner. So Target used some of these words that are very meaningful to the Hispanics and create a social media campaign out of that. So again, a phrase that is meaningful, a sentence that is meaningful, something part of our culture that is meaningful can make a difference on your marketing, especially social media strategies. Okay, but what not to do, right? And this is a very pixelated picture, but I think you can tell what it is. I couldn't find a better picture out of this. I know you couldn't see those videos, but I know you have seen many campaigns out there. This is not the way not to do it, right? And sometimes we think that as I have my flag here on the back, right? But of course it means everything to me, right? But sometimes you don't need sombreros, you don't need donkeys, you don't need flags. If you don't know and you doubt yourself that you should be using it, don't. And just make the due diligence to know when to use them, right? Because this was a radio station in Cincinnati. I think it was 2007, if I'm correct. Of course, it had a lot of like protest because it was very offensive. They were trying to be funny, which we like to be funny, but again, be careful what images you are using. Another important point here is to, Magali, do you want me to maybe to ask some questions or until the end, if somebody has questions?
It's up to you how you want to do it. I think if you want me to ask the few questions I saw, I think there are mainly comments though, but if you want me to do it now, I can do it now.
That would be good to know the comments, so that way I know if I'm on the...
Well, I'll tell you my comments first. First, I was really just kind of like, wow, look at that buying power, because I think it said $1 trillion buying power within the United States, and you just cannot ignore that. As marketers think about how they market to the community, it's very important that you pay attention to the buying power of a community, and that was just wonderful. And I love the 3 L's that you shared. And then when you did the breakdown of Latino versus Hispanic, I thought that was such necessary information to share. So thank you so much for that. Mary Jo wanted to know if you would be sharing this presentation.
Yes, of course. This is information that is out there. Some things that we came up between Juan and myself, and some things that we sourced. So yes, of course, and especially the videos, because it will make the difference.
And there is another comment that starts in Spanish, and if I try to read it, I know I will butcher it. So I don't know if she wants to come on and say it, but the second half of the statement says that my whole family speaks Spanish, English, and Spanglish.
Yes.
And now that I have mi hijo,
Hijo, his son, her son.
Yep. Huh? Her son.
Her son.
It is muy importante to teach him Spanish and to not be as hard-headed as I was. So thank you so much for doing this presentation.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm very sure that you also have a lot of things to teach us as well. So it's a two-way avenue always, right?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for that. Thank you for saying about the buying power, because yes, we like to spend our dollars when we should, and it's important to know those numbers and know that your marketing dollars should make sense if you want to invest in the Hispanic community. So thank you, Magali. So, all right, so let's continue.
Carla, this is Alan. I've got some comments in.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
Facebook Live as well. There are a number of people watching, and you're about to talk about this, but even before you talked about it, somebody said, right, be aware of regional differences, and also thank you for reminding us that not all Hispanics are Mexican.
Yes.
And then when it comes to regional differences, Latinx can come from the Caribbean or Caribbean, however you choose to say that word, South America, South Florida, New York. And I'll just add to that, that depending on where someone is from, just like anyone else,
Yes,
people are different, cultures are different, attitudes are different, behaviors are different.
Yes. So much, Alan. Thank you, whoever gave that comment again, because we try our best, but we don't know everything. So if you do have things to share with our audience, please feel free to do so, because yes, thank you for mentioning that, Alan. All right. Should we continue? ¿Seguimos? Okay, adelante. Okay, oh, let me back. Okay, so yes, be aware of regional differences, right? So most of US Hispanics prefer to use their country of origin to describe themselves. So yes, not everybody is Mexicano, Mexicana, Mexican like me. So do not assume that if they speak Spanish, they're from Mexico, right? So that's a tip for you. Now, as a marketing, of course, we know, millennials, traditionalists, and all this in between and before and after. But I think what is important to consider when you are targeting Hispanics, okay, so how the traditionalists consume in the Hispanic Latinx community, the traditionalists still like to listen a lot of radio. So that's very interesting to know. Right? Their values and traditions, again, is food, family, and holidays. That is very important for traditionalists in the Hispanic community. For the millennials, social media. I mean, it's a common sense thing, but it is a trend still in the Hispanic and Latinx community that we like to use social media. Especially Instagram, and now with TikTok and the new avenues that exist, and also Facebook. And Facebook is both from both side of the spectrum, but especially actually in the more in the traditional than now the younger generations for Facebook. Okay, so for the comment, yes, Spanglish. So what it is Spanglish? So it's the combination to speak both languages. And I will not be surprised that in a few decades or maybe less, we'll even have a dictionary for that. Like seriously. But why it is a good strategy if you know how to use it? Because by changing one word, right? Like let's say you have a sentence in English, but you use one word like abuelita. Abuelitas means everything, grandmas to us. Right? Just by changing some words, you don't have to completely translate everything. And if you use Google Translate, be careful for that, and I'll tell you why.
but use Spanglish. Don't be afraid to use Spanglish, right? Because actually that's the way I talk at home with my daughter. We speak Spanglish at home. And again, of course, the grammar and spelling might get a little fuzzy in the between, but Spanglish is a thing. For your marketing materials, you will think, okay, let's go and translate everything, go to Google Translate and copy paste. Yes, I'm not gonna tell you not to do it, okay? But remember, if you want to really connect, you really have to take the time to translate it right? Because sometimes I have translated many things on Google Translate, it won't be the same message, right? So you need to put the flavor, el sabor, right? And start using some Spanglish. I think that is a good strategy. If you have the question, should I use Spanglish? I think you should. Just make sure that you're doing it right. Let me go to next. Okay, so let's go to do some do's. Do's, due diligence. Yes, you might not have the marketing dollars there. Maybe your company, small or big, do not have really the interest yet. I think I'll show you some numbers. We can talk more any other day, but it's invest time on the community and the to understand at least your community around with the Latino and Hispanic community, what's going on. So I know time is priceless and it's probably more valuable than even money, but that's something that you can invest. Spanish materials on your website. Yes, it is very important to translate, and sometimes it is a lot of translations services out there, especially from Latinos and Hispanics. So try to use those services. Again, if your money is little to spend on those, be very mindful to which materials are important to you to start. But start somewhere. A relationship with your own community. Sorry, that was my Alexa. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my Alexa was talking to me. Then, and one that is very, very important, give opportunities to the Hispanic Latinx community in your organizations, not just as a diverse director and all these fancy new titles, to actually do the job. Start somewhere, right? I think that's a very, very important one, and advocating for that. El do not overdo is culturalism, right? Especially with in my personal opinion, I don't get offended by people using sombreros or the mustache. I think it's funny. I think it's really funny. But, for your marketing materials, and we're living in a very, the world is changing. So just be when you do cultural specific images and icons and all that into how to use them. So this is going to be my tips before I turn it out to Juan. So number one, this one. Talk about relevant topics. So anything that is important to Hispanics and Latinx. 2, reflect Hispanic consumers in your visuals. I cannot tell you enough that I've been in this community 11 years and I still don't see Latinos and Hispanics represented in the magazines and in other organizations. I never feel emotional about it. We can do much more. And that goes also for our Black community. Oh, sorry. Use Spanish language. It is okay. Start somewhere. Maybe your most important marketing materials, translate them in Spanish. Of course, now you have to think, depends on the service you are doing. If you need to hire people that need to speak Spanish and translations, and it gets more complicated, but at least choose a couple ones that are easy for your organization as a first step, because it's much to do. Use video and music content. We like visuals and we love music. So it is okay to use some of these strategies into your visuals. Develop customized contents in your materials. So you can take the same campaign that you are working with your organization, but customize it to the Latino and the Hispanic community. And again, it can be a sentence or a word. We love humor, right? So just be careful how to use it, but we love humor. Make connection with Hispanic influencers. And again, that can be on your own community, right? And get connected with Hispanic League, myself, on others. Start from there. And then maybe you can get more into the social media influencers and so on. And include cultural content, because we do love to see our culture being used on the right way, okay? So thank you very much. And now I'm gonna let Juan to share his screen.
Thank you so much, Carla. Before Juan starts to give us his part of the presentation, I wanna drop in a few more comments, and I don't know if Alan has more from Facebook. But Susie McCulley, and if you want to unmute yourself, Susie, you can. But she wanted to thank you for covering about the Brazilian community. She said Brazilians are Latinx too, and a lot of people don't realize that because we speak Portuguese. So she's really glad that you covered that. And then I know I'm going to say this word wrong, Susie, so please forgive me. She said Brazilians also have the word portunhol. For the mix of
it's this is Susie. It's portunhol.
Okay.
Portunhol. So that's the mix of Spanish and Portuguese.
Wow, I learned something new. I need to write it down. Thank you, Susie, for that.
And when you were talking specifically about using Spanglish in the translations from Google, Juan did share with us that audience is important to meet expectations with communications. So that was a key thing to note. So thank you for that, Juan. And then when you were talking about being careful about what we use and how we use things, I just wanted to add to that, that's definitely true, because we currently live, like you said, we live in interesting times. We live in what I refer to as cancel culture. So anything that you put on a flyer or social media or whatever, and you could have the best intent, you want to make sure that you run that by some people if you're not sure, because you can quickly get canceled. And that's for every community. So I wanted to share
thank you for that. Yes, and if you have any questions and you want to, feel free to reach out. I will be happy to tell you thumbs up, thumbs down, or just my 2 cents. So
yeah, I think Santiago's on the call. He's my direct go-to. I'm like, Santiago, is this okay?
Yeah, so see, networking and connections, we can help each other.
Yeah. Alan, did you have anything from Facebook before Juan comes on?
Yeah, I've got a comment here, and that is, don't forget to connect with the blend, in quotes, blend. For example, Afro-Cuban, Afro-Latinx.
Yes, so if it got difficult, now it's even more, but it's not difficult. We just have to educate ourselves and be aware. Yes, exactly. Like we have even more diverse with our community. So thank you, Alan, and whoever wrote that comment. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. All right, Juan, and hopefully he has more luck with sharing the video with us and we can hear it.
Yes. Okay. So I gave you the, I'm disconnected. So now if you want to share, and hopefully we will be able to watch the videos.
And you're muted, Juan, in case you say anything to us, we can't hear you.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Here's the video. All right, so let's play the video here.
I'm crossing my fingers that it works.
Young Latinos, so versatile, like the 2015 Honda Fit.
Nearly 1/5 of millennials identify themselves as being Hispanic. But despite that large number, some companies have a difficult time connecting their products with young Latinos. We talked to some graduate fellows from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute who said they're somewhere between their parents' heritage and more mainstream American culture. They advise companies to create bilingual and bicultural ads to reach young people like themselves.
I definitely would be more inclined to trust the product if they, do that market research to realize what it is that is true to Hispanic Latinos.
Oftentimes they tend to be either too cliche or oftentimes a bit offensive.
They need to learn the demographics and start marketing, because I want people that look like me so I can feel comfortable about buying a product. 9 out of every 10 people there are white, are Caucasians, so I can connect, and the 10% are minorities that are not really, either they're majority Asians or African Americans.
They had a billboard that said, "Finally a Latina that is cold." So it really spoke to the stereotype of Latina as being hypersexual. It was fairly offensive, and it didn't necessarily speak to any of our values as a community. It just reinforced some of the stereotypes that they are of Latina women.
It's hard because I feel like a lot of organizations make something bilingual and so right away they think it's culturally competent or they think it's marketing to Latinos because it's in Spanish and English, and that's not it.
It's like predatory kind of advertising for products or goods that are not necessarily good for our community. So I can appreciate the fact that folks are really going out of their way to understand the communities that they're serving and creating ads for them.
All right, so here's the second video with the campaign from Toyota, Más que un auto.
And their Toyotas. It's called love. Real love. The kind of love that makes you give a name to an inanimate object. That is why we called this idea More Than Cars. We wanted to celebrate Toyota's 10 consecutive years as the most beloved brand among US Hispanics. The idea? Giving our consumers the chance to do what they were already doing.
Hotelito, Pino, Ojitos.
Naming their Toyotas. By simply logging into masculinauto.com and writing down the name, a week later, a shiny, beautiful badge arrived in the mail. We only asked for one thing in exchange: to know the love stories behind those names. There were plenty of them, as 100,000 badges were ordered in the first 6 months. We even got requests from other countries. And from Ricky. Más que un auto became the highest user-generated content campaign in the history of the brand in the US, with more than 98 million impressions across all media. Every shared story became a piece of branded social content, and some of them were even turned into short films. Now we're exporting Más que un auto to Latin America, Europe, and Asia. All you can expect from an idea that is much more than your average campaign. Actually, it has also proved something else. That someone can love the cars we make more than we do.
All right, yeah, I'm so happy that we got to see it. And I know that they probably spent a lot of money creating those badges, but lo que recibieron in I cannot think of the word in English, Juan. The awards, right? Like of getting the yes, it was ginormous, right? So just to think about maybe something special that you can do as well and create and generate more Hispanic Latino clients for you. All right.
Since you like to joke, did I hear that the interpretation of the word in English was ginormous?
Oh. Yeah, I say ginormous.
That's kind of like Spanglish, right?
Yes, it is. I like the Spanglish. Yeah, sometimes sometimes the brain just goes with Spanglish. All right, I'm gonna let Juan to go ahead and start his side of the presentation.
Awesome, thank you. Those were awesome videos. One thing that I wanted to add when we were talking about the communication, as it was mentioned that I shared in the comments, that knowing your audience is very important to meet expectations with communications. The reason why I say that is because Spanglish, that can be a very effective form of communication, and that could even cross the bridge when trying to reach your audience. However, it may have a different effect on your audience if they were maybe a little older, that are not used to the Spanglish form of communication. And again, as it was mentioned, that can just have a backlash. So knowing that is very important. And from the videos, I think something that was very well understood is that Hispanics, Latinos, Latinx, passionate, very, very emotionally inclined, passionate audience. It's just, there's a strong bond there once you make that connection. So I want to continue here. So we want to dive a little deeper into our community. And the reason why is because of our audience today, right? More than likely, we do not have millions of dollars to spend on marketing and advertising. Just speaking amongst us here, you know, entrepreneurs, folks that go to Small Business Center, Chamber of Commerce, they're just now thinking about starting up. We may not have those millions to spend. So how can we make it happen? Well, being involved in our community, that's an excellent opportunity. One way to do that is identifying which organizations exist in our community. Some that I come across often are Mi Casa, Casa Azul, the Latino Community Coalition of Guilford, Latino Community Services, and of course, the organization that I'm part of, the Hispanic League. We're very involved. So now thinking from an entrepreneurial aspect and knowing what I want to accomplish and approaching these organizations, I need to first do my due diligence. Just as it was mentioned before, do your due diligence. What is each organization's purpose and how do they execute? So by that, I mean, I'm trying to reach their audience, right? So do they have an event or do they have multiple events throughout the year where I can get in front of that audience so I can let them know about this great product or service that I have and I want to offer to them? I think that's very important. And now to take it even a step more, do our missions have any correlation? So let's say I have something similar to the Fit Watch, you know, a watch that tracks your steps, what have you, maybe your heart rate. Let's say this was a few years ago and I came up with it, you know, it's not a segregated market like it is now. And I wanted to approach this audience. They may have a run, like a 5K run, 10K run, a marathon. And this audience is gathering there. So they already have them in a place for me. Now I want to get in front of them. So how can I identify this partnership opportunity if we both are trying to get to our audience through a health standpoint? Let's see, maybe I can sponsor that event. Maybe I can give some of my watches to these runners so that they can try, so that they can speak about it, so they can let others know that they're trying something new and how great it worked. So that goes a step beyond. It's identifying those partnership opportunities. And that just comes from due diligence, knowing who you are, your company, your organization, what you want to accomplish, your goals, and also knowing the others that can help you out and just working together. Do we have any questions or comments before I go to the next slide?
It was some of the organizations that you can repeat them, but we will be sharing the organizations in the presentation as well, because you mentioned many that people probably don't even know, right? Who is in this community?
Yes, and so that's why due diligence is very important. And due diligence can just be reaching out to one of us. Make that effort to connect. Different organizations, they focus on different things. One can be art, one can be health. One actually may be focused on many of those.
Juan, I wanted to jump in and share with you. We're going to stay on until the end of the presentation, but I do want to let you know that you may start to lose some of the audience at 1:30 as this runs from 12:30 to 1:30. Okay.
Plenty of time. Thank you. And so now to get your message out, you really want to put in that effort, create those relationships, have those impressions, consistency, all that to build the trust, right? The loyalty, as I was mentioned before. This audience here, very loyal, very loyal. If there's a product that they like, they will be your ambassadors. They will push it out for you. They will tell their circle about this great product, and that could be your greatest investment there. It's making sure that this relationship is created, and then you just build that trust, and then you just push forward. Now, in creating your message, you have to take into consideration environmental factors. So with that, I mean, knowing what's happening nationwide, what's going on in the States, what about the region, what about my community, where I'm living, what about the places where I shop, what is going on, what trends am I seeing, what is the next big thing? I mean, that's anything from an entrepreneur is because we're identifying an opportunity to solve a need or a want. So it's the same thing here when it comes to creating your message. And now it's a give and give back kind of thing with when it comes to support. A great example is a cost marketing campaign. So a cost marketing campaign, let's say there was a field. Let's say there's a park that's not being taken care of anymore or anything. This is just an example. But it's actually an area where a lot of children in the community go and play. Or, you know, it's kind of rotting away, different things like that, or the playground is falling apart, things like that. You can create a cost marketing campaign with the business in that community. So you can brand it together, and it can be a message that says, by buying, you know, this product, proceeds will go to help build this park or to better infrastructure, whatever it is, whatever the campaign is. Identifying the opportunity and knowing who you can partner with so you can support, that's a win-win situation. And then the value proposition. Thinking about channels and mediums, or your mediums, knowing your audience. Is it better to go to print, broadcast, outdoor, digital? Okay, let's say I choose digital. Okay, my channels. Social media. Do I want community calendars? Do I want video? Videos has grown so much. I don't know if you've all noticed, but on YouTube, just a few years ago, how the most trending videos, the plays they would get, the hits, right? How that has just grown exponentially to now. It's because our younger generations, you know, they love video. They're going to video. Are their messages most effective when it comes to video? It gets that engagement. So that's very important to identify. And now for your positioning, center of influencers, just like it was mentioned before, that can be your greatest investment. Your loyalties, just growing that audience, creating those ambassadors to help push the product for you. And it's because they want to. It's not because you're telling them to. It's because they want to, because they believe in you as a person. They believe in your product, your service. And that could be your return on investment there. That's amazing. I know time is short, so I just wanted to keep it a little short, but please let me know any questions, comments.
Yeah, do we have any comments? Because I want to add an example of a relationship and find a way to collaborate.
Not from the chat. I don't know about Facebook, Alan.
No, there are none in the chat. And Carla, were you going to mention what we've got going on next week? Is that, or?
Yes.
I do
so,
want to about it.
Yes,
Okay.
no, we're going to mention that, but I want to thank Juan, because this is great. And I think it comes to the, from coming from the big picture to the smaller picture to the picture of our community, right? And what are the things that you can do without, of course, you have to invest time and some type of money, but definitely, I would say one also is patience, because maybe an event or a marketing material that it might not have the audience first, maybe you have one person, but it starts with one person to make a change. And it might take you 3 or 4 times do the same thing and make it better and have more impact. So please be also patient with doing your strategies. But one example that I want to add, and Juan, do you have anything else before we said about next week's event?
No, I do not.
Okay, so this is a great example of how do you find the middle point where different organization has the same goal and we can do something great. So we just started the Hispanic League, Small Business Center, the Forsyth Tech Small Business Center, and Soy Emprendedor to create this monthly event through the Hispanic League, because the Hispanic League great, great audience about small businesses and entrepreneurship into the community. So that's just a very, very small and first step. But then, for example, Hustle will be joining next week. So we're gonna be doing this together, right? And this is a collaboration that maybe, between these organizations, we have kind of a different mission, but where do we work together in the middle? That's what we find. And again, it can be common sense, but it actually not, because it took us all this time to figure it out, right? So we're going to be creating these monthly lives to share with the Hispanic community and the Latinx community about small business center, small business tools, and entrepreneurship tools in the community. So that is a way, right? And what we're investing, of course, is time and effort to know each other and to create content for the community. So I just wanted to close. We will be sharing in our social medias this event. So I invite you to join. So it's next Wednesday from 11:30 to 12. Is that correct, Juan? Through the Hispanic League Facebook Live. That's how it's gonna be delivered, the message.
And I just want to say that on behalf of the Small Business Center, we're happy to be in this partnership with you, and just want to let everybody else know that we did something in June and we did something later in June together. And then this is a follow-up to those things. And in the first week of June was North Carolina Small Business Week. So one of our events during that week was connecting the Hispanic Latinx community with the small business, or introducing rather. And then in a couple, maybe the next week or 2 weeks later, we had the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Forsyth County, and the Small Business Center as a part of that. We hosted an event from April through June called Hour of Empowerment. And so we invited Carla and others to be our guest speaker. And so this is a natural follow-up to that. And so now this series is going to start next Wednesday, but it will be monthly. And that goes back to what you said, Juan, about building trust. You don't just, and somebody else said, you don't just market once and say it didn't achieve the results, therefore I quit, I'm not going to try it again. No, instead we're going to do a little bit more each time as we get to know each other better and build that relationship and trust.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions or comments? Thank you, Juan. Thank you.
I do want to add, that's great. And I love that we're having the monthly thing, and that it's on Wednesdays with Carla and Juan in the Small Business Center, or the Hispanic League, Small Business Center, and Soy Emprendedor. Carla, am I saying it right? I'm gonna get it right one day. And I think it's great, and it's a natural. Next week, and every month going forward, it's a natural progression into just set your Wednesdays to join that from 11:30 to 12, and then hop on over to us from 12:30 to 1:30. We're all about collaboration and speaking of the continuous conversation of collaboration, especially as we talk about the Hispanic Latinx community, I want to share last year, Carla, Juan, myself, Santiago, and a few others on this call probably, we came together and we did the Hispanic think tank last year during Hispanic Heritage Month. And we'll be doing something similar this year as a part 2 of that. So please stay connected to the Hispanic League. I think the initial conversation with Carla and Santiago said that we may try to do it this year during Fiesta, during a virtual Fiesta. I don't know, Mary Jo, you'll let me know if that's incorrect. But I'm excited about the possibility of that and what we can offer to the community, more, not just so we have a celebration, but more so about the education that we need to provide to the community. And in closing today, I do want to say thank you all for waiting the extra 5 minutes with us. And Rick, you did send me a direct message that I see, and it's in line with what I was about to share. And that's basically, as I shared last week as we were closing out, you probably noticed some common themes between last week and this week, as our presenters told you a bit about who the Hispanic Latinx people are and told you a little bit more about what they value. You realize one of the common things, and I love that we saw this again in the presentation this week. You saw the word human. Despite everything we shared with you last week and this week, we're all human. And you have to keep that in mind as you're doing any of your marketing practices. And I'm excited for next week's presentation because I'm almost positive we'll see even more similar and common themes throughout next week's presentation. So Rick, I can't promise you that I'm gonna do a summary of learnings. I'll keep that in mind. He asked me to do a summary of learning of all 4 weeks. I might do it, but I'm not gonna make any promises. But thank you so much, everyone, today. Thank you so much, Carla and Juan. And if you have any more questions and comments in regards to how you can get more involved with the Hispanic community, the Hispanic League is probably your best resource in Winston-Salem. That's a great starting point. So I really, really encourage that you reach out to Juan or Mary Jo, and they'll be able to assist you. Santiago just dropped in the chat the link, and I'll drop it in the in the Facebook as well. He dropped the link to where you can get more involved with the Hispanic Latinx think tank that I just mentioned. So if you want to get more involved, it is on Love Out Loud's website as a way to get more involved with that. I hope I addressed everyone's comment, questions, and concerns, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again next week. Thank you again, Carla and Juan.
Muchas gracias.
Goodbye, everyone.
Virtual
Gracias.
Thank you.
Adiós.
Gracias. Thank you.